It's been a long journey to get here, but since I've recently hit 100,000 subscribers, I figured it was time to let y'all get to know me a little bit better. My name is CommissarKai, and today I'm bringing Speed Zero on to read me y'all's questions. Thankfully, unlike in Helldivers Jeopardy, I am confident that I can answer all of them. These questions were pulled from a community post I put out last week and curated by my team, so let's get into it.
Orange Cryptid asks, what got you into Helldivers 2 in the first place?
Well, Orange Cryptid, Helldivers caught my eye with their launch trailer back in January 2024. I was just starting out as a Darktide YouTuber, but even though I loved that game, it had a small audience and patches adding in new stuff was just a rarity. I saw the hell pods fall out of the sky and the emphasis on working together, and I immediately knew I wanted to cover this game instead. The game just immediately made me think of Elysian Drop Troopers mixed with a little bit of ODST from Halo, and that was a combination I couldn't ignore. That and the humor was a massive breath of fresh air. I mean, come on, the gentle touch of an iron fist. Soon as I heard that, I wanted to be that fist. Didn't even know who I'd be fighting, but I knew their deaths would serve a good cause. I'm glad I found a home here.
ODST with the saxophone asks, what was your favorite era of Helldivers?
My favorite era of Helldivers was probably Escalation of Freedom post 60-day plan. Back then the game was still really difficult and required teamwork to do particularly well, but you could still do things like one tap a Titan in the face with the recoilless, so you didn't have to rely on landing like perfect 500s and orbital precision strikes to take out a big guy. Patrol spawns were also bugged, meaning there were far more enemies to introduce to my boot heel than there are now. I thoroughly enjoyed taking on impossible odds with minimal amounts of resources, which is why I do a lot of absurd challenges. When the game is easy, I have to make my own fun. When my career as a Helldiver gets harder because of some fresh monstrosity dropped on us by the undemocratic, I feel like I do my best work.
Throngler asks, what was your favorite video to make?
Throngler, huh? That's a new one. My favorite video to make was either my ODST challenge way back before our new cadets put on their capes, or my underrated stratagems video. The ODST challenge was a ton of fun to come up with and had a lot of natural drama throughout the games. Playing with a minimal HUD and splitting up at the start just really made it feel like we were playing Halo ODST. I do regret not fully leaning into the story bit on that one, but it still stuck out because it was something new. The underrated stratagems guide was particularly memorable because I got to dig into the stats and find stratagems that were really powerful that nobody used. Felt like I was Rudo from Gotcha Yakuta turning trash into potent weapons of democracy. Plus, my team was on point with the humor in that one. The games were just so much fun to play. I still giggle when I think about Destroy praising me for shooting him in the face, only to have him step on a landmine right afterwards.
It was excellent trigger discipline, sir.
Thank you.
I am not dead.
Liar!
Wesley Golden asks, even though it is a team-based game, I was wondering why you never post solo diver tips and content.
I used to post exclusively solo Helldiver content way back in the day when I was just getting started. Aravin's actually the one that got me steamed enough to make them. He kept claiming that the only valuable difficulty to play on was level 9 at the time and made a big fuss out of soloing it. So I watched his video and then soloed Helldive on my first try. Then I made a few videos about how to do solo Helldiving and the skills it takes to do it. But after a time I just got lonely. I vastly preferred playing with random people because it was funnier and I had a chance to form new friendships. But then I made my first team play video and found my niche in the Helldiver space. I do have a solo video coming out in the next month or so. It'll be part of my Like an Expert series because I do want to show people how to do it, but it's not going to be something that I focus on. Making new friends and sharing laughs is just more important to me than flexing on people.
The Humble Narcissist asks, what would you most like to be added to the game? More stratagems, vehicles, armors, maybe some way to customize armors cosmetically?
Humble Narcissist. I'm not sure if that's meant to be ironic, but it is a good name. Honestly, none of the above. I want more mission types, not rejumbles of existing stuff. I want to do something new, and I want to be able to fail a mission if I do not succeed and complete the objective. That's why I liked the oil rig missions from Into the Unjust. If you didn't kill Barry before living out your desert road truckers fantasy, he'd tear your rig to pieces and you would fail the mission. That kind of thing is really interesting to me and encourages Teamplay, which obviously I'm all for. I would not say no to a four-wheeler though. Give me a mongoose so I can reminisce about my days on my uncle's farm.
KZ asks, what is the best setup for a deathmatch with my fellow team divers?
What? Don't go murdering perfectly good resources, people, that could be used in the fight against tyranny. But if you have to, FRV jousting and bayonets at dawn are my favorite ways of resolving disputes.
Acer asks, do you think the game overall should be more rebalanced? aka it's in an okay spot, but some problematic options enemies need to be reined back in, or just straight up buffed. Why would you nerf in a PvE game?
Okay, here comes the spicy questions. First, let me address why would you nerf in a PvE game? This is the wrong way to look at it. For example, in Darktide, the Psyker class has an ability called Assail. We also call them Mind Bees. When this first came out, it was so hilariously overpowered that anyone not running it basically did not get to play the game. You would just follow the Assail Psyker around, he'd throw bees at stuff, and everything would die. That ability being so strong made the game less fun for everyone. I don't think anything in Helldivers is quite at that level, but some things like the Orbital Napalm Barrage get pretty close. If you have 4 divers all bringing that stratagem, the game is just boring. Just because it's a PvE game doesn't mean there's never a reason to nerf stuff. Like the Ultimatum, that one deserved it. It made objectives that were supposed to be a challenge stupidly easy, particularly stratagem jammers. That nerf made the game more fun because now we had a challenge to overcome rather than a target to shoot at. But if you're asking me about balance in Helldivers, I do think some of our tools could use some buffs. ARs in particular feel pretty weak compared to other stuff, and some of our support weapons could use some tweaks that would just make them a lot better to use. The Arc Thrower and AMR are prime examples that come to mind. Letting the Arc Thrower one-stun chargers and giving it a faster fire rate wouldn't break the game, it would just make it more useful. Same with the AMR, if you gave it more damage to hit better breakpoints, it could actually feel its role as a sniper against big targets. But both of those buffs would make the weapons more fun without making them a problem. I'm guessing you were also referring to War Striders. I don't know what Command was thinking when they made this abomination, but they do need to reduce how often they spawn and make their turrets more lethal rather than just having the whole enemy be a stagger machine. That said, I do think a big reason why Helldivers sometimes feel weak isn't because the guns are weak, it's just because they're not using their whole kit. Even the Eruptor, the best gun in the game, cannot compete kill-wise with a machine gun Sentry or an orbital napalm barrage. The power fantasy in Helldivers comes from the Super Destroyer in orbit supporting you specifically. It's not meant to come from your primary weapons, which is a topic I'll cover more in depth later.
Corgi Dog Guy asks, what is the official name for the Laser Sentry? We need answers, Commissar.
The Laser Sentry is named Larry. He's named after a friend of my dad's that brought a taser into our martial arts school and asked us to tase him. He's a crazy bastard, but really friendly when you get to know him.
Scott Cook asks, if you could put together a Warbond inspired by another sci-fi property out there, what would it be? What type of weapons or stratagems would you like to include in that bond?
Oh, this is a good one. I want a 40k inspired Warbond. Give me a chainsword, a hotshot lasgun, and a melt-a-gun for a stratagem. I want a shotgun style support weapon so bad, and the melt-a-gun from 40k would fit the bill beautifully. Y'all might have guessed by now, but I love 40k, and I love the Imperial Guard even more. So a Warbond styled after the Tempestus Scions would have me throwing super credits at the screen.
Apparently, Michael asks, what's your least favorite planet biome?
Fire tornadoes. I don't think that would be a surprise to anyone. Soon as Command lets me, I'm throwing you straight into the warp, you useless pile of sand. I'm tired of fighting over you.
Zach Rice asks, what is your favorite gun in all of the game, support weapons included?
Oh, you're gonna get me called a glazer. But no BS, it's the Liberator Carbine and the M90A shotgun. I love those guns so much and will look for any excuse to use them. The Carbine just shoots so fast, has a ton of ammo, and becomes a laser beam with weapon mods. The M90A is just a big shotgun that makes me happy. It's not any more complicated than that. Support weapon wise, my favorite's probably the grenade launcher. I like big kill streaks and I like digging trenches.
Okatool asks, add any mount into the game. What would you want to ride around on and why?
I feel like this one is obvious. Let me call in an orbital berry, and I will personally raise Cyberstan to the ground. His Hellpod alone should flatten a few of their cities.
Sharp Edge Soda asks, is 10 too easy? Should it be? What would your ideal super ultra hard mode look like?
Oh, that's another good one. Level 10s are far too easy in my opinion, but there is a massive problem here. Every time they've made level 10s harder, people start whining and complaining about feeling weak. You can't have it both ways. Either level 10 is for Liberty Bell busting difficulty, or it's for everyone. I do wish some people would just try lowering the difficulty because there's honest to liberty no shame in it. The only thing keeping these people from having more fun with the game is their ego forcing them to take on something they're not good enough to handle yet. It's also where a lot of the balance complaints come from in my opinion. If you don't know that stratagems are where most of your kills are going to come from, you will feel weak on level 10s. That's not to say that like there aren't guns that should be adjusted, there are, but I think in general, this is true. That said, my ideal level 10 looks like this. You drop in, gear up, and have a continuous, brutal battle all the way through the mission. Breakups in the action should be brief and rare, and resource management should be a required skill. I also think they should put certain missions that only appear on 10s and have more failure states. It is damn near impossible to fail a level 10 as is if you focus on getting objectives done. Even if your team is screwing around losing all the reinforcements, one diver can clear a level 10 mission in about 15 minutes if they just focus on the primary. I'd like missions to have objectives where extracting is required for success, or there's some kind of MacGuffin you have to protect or risk failing the mission. Something like carrying Egbert out of the super base and extracting with him would be a good example of what I mean.
The Kagora asks, what boosters are the worst? And what ideas do you think could help fix them while maintaining their intended identity?
Oh, there's a lot of bad ones. Hell, honestly, the whole booster system could do with a complete rework since a lot of the game's enemies are designed with you using something like the Vitality booster in mind, which is stupid. But to answer your question, I'd give the example of motivational shocks. This booster is trash and could easily be made better if it just made you immune to slowing effects from enemies and environmental hazards like these stupid ice flowers. That would give it some tactical options and make it a contender, but right now you basically just take the same 4 all the time. I hate the whole system.
A lot of people ask, Kai, why do you hate the crossbow so much?
Okay, fine. I'll tell y'all. I hate the crossbow because for a long while it was hands down the best primary in the game and nothing came close. I legit got depressed one day looking at my loadouts trying to find something else to use, but the crossbow just did everything, so I couldn't think about it. It killed my enjoyment of crafting loadouts because it was just too damn strong, and I knew Command didn't have the stones to nerf it. So I just had to force myself to pretend that it didn't exist. I want to show y'all new ways to play, new combinations that make the game more fun by elevating worse weapons through synergies. I could not do that with the crossbow in mind because it was just always the choice. So yeah, I hate it because of what it did to the game. It made everyone expect primary weapons to all be that strong. But if this ever happens, y'all will probably feel the same way I did. Your choice in loadouts would just become an illusion. There'd be no real choices because everything would feel exactly the same. At least that's how I see it. At least guns like the Eruptor and Purifier require some skill expression to use and have some legitimate drawbacks. Crossbow really has none, and that bothers me. I'll get deeper into it when I finally make a crossbow video, but I'm glad this abomination has such a low pick rate, otherwise the game would be a lot less fun for everyone. Imagine all Helldivers using this thing all the time. It would be a nightmare.
Phil McD asks, how are you?
I'm doing good. This job can be kind of stressful with all the editing, script writing, voiceovers, and trying to come up with fresh ideas, but I have a wonderful wife, great friends, and I enjoy what I do. Can't complain, but thank you for asking.
Username here asks, what part of the South is your accent from? I'm from the South and I can't pinpoint where it vaguely comes from.
I get asked about my accent a lot because I don't sound like I'm from Texas, which is what most people are familiar with, but I spent the first 30 years of my life in northern Georgia. So I'm closer to a mountain hillbilly than I am a cowboy. Around the time I went to college, I started to lose it since my friends at the time would make fun of me for how I sounded, and I was a lot more self-conscious back then. So to stave off their mocking and people thinking I'm stupid, I developed a customer service voice that you can hear in my early Darktide content. But I think it's important to embrace things about yourself that you like, and I like how I sound. Go dogs.
Akumu Inari asks, where did the Commissar in your name come from? If you had to choose something to replace Commissar, what word/rank would you use?
My rank of Commissar comes from, you guessed it, 40k. Commissars are exemplary examples of humanity's finest. They hone their bodies and minds to deal with the horrors of the 41st millennium, and to lead the soldiers under their command to greater feats of courage and honor. I don't think I'd ever change it, but if I had to, it'd probably be the Democracy Officer for similar reasons.
Nines asks, what's your favorite class in Darktide, and do you play Vermintide at all? Will you be doing content on any other Horde shooter game or just Helldivers?
To the surprise of absolutely no one, Veteran is my favorite class. I get a chainsword and a bolt pistol, and I get to shout at my enemies about their inadequate faith in my God Emperor. Playing Veteran in Darktide is basically my happy place. I've played Vermintide, but it's never been one of my main games, but I did like it though. I do plan on covering other co-op shooters. It's just tough for me to find the right timing to do it, because every time I think about covering a new game, Helldivers just smacks me in the face with something new. But I do want to cover Darktide and Jump Space and anything else that grabs my attention when I get the chance. There's a lot of games that I play, I don't just play Helldivers.
The Ludicrous Loaderbot asks, do you play Magic the Gathering? If not, what is your favorite board game?
I never got into Magic. I've always kind of sucked at deck building games, but my favorite board game is Tabletop 40K. It's about 3 hours of being a kid playing with toy soldiers and rolling dice. I like losing myself in the fantasy and spending time with people over something we both enjoy. I don't know if it really counts as a board game, but I also love D&D. My DM is the asshole reading the questions, and I love surviving stupid crap that he throws at me and my party.
Scientist Streamer asks, why do you hate soup so much?
Soup is a disappointment served in a bowl. If it's the main dish of a meal, I feel like I'm drinking sadness spiced with disappointment. Give me a steak, a salad, mashed potatoes, and I'm happy. I've only had one soup that I enjoyed as a meal, and it was while I was in China. Can't remember what it was called, but it was sour and spicy and delicious, and I still think about it sometimes.
Enderfiend asks, what is your favorite kind of food?
My favorite food is pepperoncini beef. It's a dish my wife makes, and it is the perfect blend of spicy, sour, and savory. She serves it with mushrooms and rice, and every time she makes it, I thank her for marrying me. I also really like pizza.
Sir Tacticern asks, which do you like more, Liberty or Democracy?
I'm more of a libertine man. Can't much abide by the filthy bean water. It gives me the jitters.
Rocket3830 asks, here's a weird question. What's your favorite color?
Blue. No, yellow. Seriously though, it's pink. I love pink, and no one ever believes me. Not even my mama.
A tall short guy asks, what is your favorite color of crayon to eat?
I like the purple ones. They taste like grape, and I loved grape soda growing up.
Tisk asks, why do they call it an oven if you oven the cold food of out hot eat the food?
Helldiver, you're supposed to eat your crayon rations and not sniff my markers. Next question.
So the Great asks, Kai, can you be my friend?
No, but I will happily be your commanding officer on the field of battle. You could be on Hellbomb duty.
Well asks, on a scale from 1 to 10.
7. Next.
Craftmaster Mark64 asks, can we get a reveal of the goober behind the helmet?
Sure, here you go. Me in all my glory hanging out with a few of my buddies.
The Con Man asks, what inspired you to be so focused on Teamplay? Was it another game or a personal experience?
It was a bit of both. About 10 years ago, damn it I'm old, I was deep in League of Legends. I had friends I regularly played with, and I loved pulling off ganks and shot calling our way to victory. But as time went on, my friends grew up and pursued other interests. Before long, I was grinding Elo alone, and it was making me miserable. My teammates were now all random players that were all on edge because we all had our self-worth tied to our league ranking. This environment made me miserable, even driving me into depression. So I quit and found Darktide. Darktide relies on teamwork to complete missions, and because it's a PvE game without a scoreboard, the only thing that really mattered was making sure that everyone made it over the finish line. After years of grinding alone and making myself miserable over every mistake, I finally had a chance to play for something greater than my own ego. I wanted to be a dependable teammate that made sure everyone got out of the mission to fight another day, and this mentality drew others to me. I would hop online and get messages asking me to join games, and for the first time in a long time, I was genuinely happy with my hobby. That's why I made the Discord the way I have. I modeled it after the experiences I had in Darktide, and now there's 27,000 people sharing the same joy I felt in those Darktide lobbies. I didn't want a fan club. I wanted to remind people why playing together is so much more fun than trying to bolster your self-worth by chasing a KDA, ELO, or whatever ranking system happens to be popular. Teamplay isn't just about efficiency or completing missions the optimal way. It's about building memories, stories, and friendships that you can carry with you throughout the years. So yeah, that's why I'm so focused on Teamplay. I want y'all to feel like the games you choose to make your hobby are rewarding you with the friendships that make gaming worthwhile. Well, that got a little deeper than I intended, but hopefully now y'all feel like you know me a little bit better. Thank you again, sincerely, for your support getting me to 100,000 subscribers. This is the first milestone that's really meant something to me, and I'm incredibly proud of this achievement and the community I've helped inspire. But hell, there's still a lot of gamers out there that need to hear the message, so I'll keep it pushing. But until next time, this is CommissarKai signing out.